Shoot! Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now today's piece of content is actually a breath of fresh air for me because it's about a multi-tool, but specifically a multi-tool with a feature on there that I wish more multi-tools had. Okay, so we're here today to look at the Studies and Observation Groups, or SOG, their snippet tool. Multi-tools for me, I like a multi-tool. I do like a multi-tool. I've made some multi-tool content on here before. I generally tend to find though that I lean more towards things like a Victorinox knife. The multi-tools that I do choose to use or steer towards generally are multi-tools that, specifically with this one, speak words to me. So as you can see, instead of the standard pliers on the end, these have a pair of scissors on the end. Now, that's the main reason for me that, I just, something attracted me to these, and I wish there were more multi-tools that had scissors on them, or at least the main focus rather than a plier was some scissors, or maybe some kind of harder shears. So, as I usually do, I'll turn the camera around so we can take a closer look at these. While I'm doing that, if you do enjoy this content at any point, please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. It would be amazing if I can hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. Share the content as well, that would be amazing. But for now, let's turn the camera around and look at the SOG snippet. So as we usually do, we'll go through some measurements, we'll go through some materials, and then we'll have a look at the actual features itself. Now, as far as measurements are concerned, when it is closed like this, the longest length on here is 6.8 centimeters or 68 millimeters. Now, when it's open, as far as open length is concerned, it's the full length when it's completely open like that. So I suppose it would be the tip of where the blades here close on the scissors all the way to the back here, and that comes in at 11.23 centimeters or 112.3 millimeters. The other thing that, as far as measurements that we talk about is blade length. Now, I have to admit, when you're trying to find the blades on here, they can be a bit of a struggle because it's just trying to remember where each of them is. I should remember though that the blade is always on the side where the clip is, but I always tend to forget that bit. But the blade length on here comes in at 4.45 centimeters or 44.5 millimeters. So as far as if you're concerned, or you certainly want to know whether this is perfectly legal for you to carry here in the UK, one, this is a slip joint. There's no sort of locking mechanism here. There is a spring that has a detent to make sure that it's securely held to keep it safe, but there's nothing that needs to be pressed to unlock that, and the blade itself is shorter than 76.4 millimeters or 3 inches. So this is completely legal here in the UK, and is fine to carry if needs be. As far as the construction, it is made from stainless steel. The blade is 5CR15 MOV, which is I believe that's a Chinese steel. But again, I think from the use that I've been putting this through, certainly this isn't that type of tool that you're going to be hacking down trees or anything like that. This is really perfect for EDC use for light duties, mainly packaging, open, that sort of stuff. Because of the materials that are used in this, it's also really quite light as well. It comes in at 57 grams. So we'll go through the outside, or at least I say the outside. So this really is the position when everything is closed. You'll be able to see there is the SOG Studies and Observation Group there. When you flip it over, there's another one and another quite large SOG there as well. It's one of the downsides. No, I don't want to say downsides, because I know certain people, or some people, I don't mean to, like, certain people, oh my god, certain people love this. I mean that as in, like, I know some people certainly won't mind it. It's not overly obnoxious, however, it probably could be reduced. But yeah, so there is some branding on there. On both of the outsides, hopefully you'll be able to see here that there are some holes that have been drilled into it. I'm guessing mainly that will help to reduce some of the weight. However, you know, they are tiny little holes that have been drilled into pressed steel, so it's not going to reduce the weight that much, but it will do it a little bit. Now, as I open these, I suppose the first tool, or as such, you can actually see here on the outside. So there are two different rulers that go along the length on each side. Across this side we have metric, across this side we have imperial, so you can see it goes from 0 over just past 5 inches. On this side, which I don't know if this was an oversight somewhere, if I turn this around, going in millimeters, we go from 0 to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 millimeters. And then as it crosses over this central point here, we then skip from millimeters to centimeters. So we've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know why it does that. I think maybe this should have been 80, 90. I'm not sure. I'm guessing where the 11 is here, that would need to be 110 millimeters, which there might not have been enough room when that little hole there was drilled. I'm guessing. I mean, that probably is the reason why, but it's strange. Now you open it up, and okay, so the main thing that you can see here, hopefully, is the scissors here on the end. Now, I certainly find that for me, I just use scissors more often than I use anything else. Certainly on knives that I use, I tend to use knives, especially like Victorinox knives. I use the scissors on those a lot. So to have something that removes the pliers from the end and decides to use scissors, for me, is absolutely perfect. And I'd like to challenge, and this is an open challenge, if you know there are other manufacturers, including SOG as well, I'd like to see a large tool. So this, I mean, this is perfect for those little EDC duties, but I'd like to see a large tool similar to the size of a wave, that sort of thing, that takes away the pliers and has a really big, large pair of industrial sized shears or scissors on the end. I'm throwing down the gauntlet now. I'd love to see that. But the scissors on here, so you have the two blades. Unfortunately, they're not serrated. If I could change anything, I would just add some serration to one of the blades, just to make sure that whatever you're cutting, especially with these, you can definitely cut through things like wire, you can cut through kettle leads, that sort of stuff. But with some serration on one of the sides, it would just mean that there's less slippage. Now, what hopefully you'll have noticed as well is when I splay this open, so you have the usual parts that you'd expect to see on a multi-tool, but then you also have these additional arms. And I've passed these to a few people, and they've looked at it as in to say, what have you passed me here? What is this contraption? And the way that it's used is you put a finger and a thumb through each of those. So these two bits on the outside control the out, and then the bits in the middle control the in. It's brilliant. It just works perfectly. What they've also done as well is, if I can bring this up so that you can see closer, so where this steel is, you also have this bit, so they've lengthened it down, and then they've created an underfold. So any sort of hot spots that you might get on your thumb or on your fingers while you're using this additional width of material just completely removes that. So being able to chop, in fact, I wasn't going to do this, but you can quite easily cut through. There you go. Maybe not that one because it was absolutely soaking wet. But you can easily manipulate these as you would do a pair of scissors that have those standard eye holes that you pass your fingers through. I've not found, even cutting through that was mainly because I just needed to press down harder. I've not found that there's any rotational torque in these, so you don't get that point where the jaws push open so that you stop to cut. But they have really been tested out for mainly EDC use. So outside of the main use for these, the scissors themselves, all of the other tools are on the inside. Now that's one thing to point out, because I think multi-tool people fall into two camps, or maybe three if you're actually just not bothered. You have the camp where you don't mind having all of the tools on the inside. You have to open these in order to be able to get to the additional tools. And then you've got the people like, no, that's ridiculous. I just want to be able to get to the tools because I use these more often. And then that third camp as well. To be fair, I'm just not that bothered. So on the insides, on this side, if you remember, which I always forget, but the side that has the clip, this is the side that has the blade on there. So there's a nice decent thumb neck on there for you to be able to get the blade out. The blade has a hollow grind, which I quite like a hollow grind. It's all got a nice, reasonably nice satin finish, and quite a nice belly to the ends there. So it certainly makes it a very usable blade. On the opposite side, again, there is another useful little finger neck there. There is a small flathead screwdriver here on the end. What do they call this? I think they call this a jewellery driver. So things like glasses, those sort of small screws that you need to be able to get to, this is perfect for those. And then you can see here that there is a bottle opener. Now next to that, you probably didn't notice it as I pulled it out, but I didn't even notice this at all, especially when I first got it, but hidden in there is see, the reason that I stopped talking then is because it's actually just a little bit tricky to get it out. So if I close this, sorry, it's actually a toothpick. If I close this bit here, you'll be able to see, so you've got a plasticky toothpick, which is actually quite good. But on here, on the rear side, you've got this little nub, and it's this nub that you need to be able to either get a thumbnail or a fingernail in there to be able to turn it round. It's just a bit tricky, and I find the best way to get it out is to open this tool, which the friction on the inside of this one helps it to get it out. But you have this little, almost like a Victorinox toothpick. On the opposite side, so on this side, you'll be able to see, so you have a larger flathead screwdriver. I don't think it's designed to be used as a pry tool. However, it's reasonably good to be used as a pry tool. You just have to make sure that you're holding it here on the tool itself to be able to pry things, rather than putting any force on this joint here, because that's just not good for it at all. On the opposite side, there is a nail file, which is great. I think although I've not mentioned this is a perfect tool to be able to do kind of hygiene work. If you've got dirty fingernails, you can definitely cut them with this. And then there is a nail file on here, and then there's I don't know, what would you call this? A nail pick for getting bits of crap from underneath your nails. Again, perfectly serviceable and works really well. The last tool, which you do find with a lot of these kind of, they'll throw it in and they'll say that it's a tool, but it's not really a tool as such. You'll be able to see that there is a small hole there for you to be able to pass a lanyard through as well. Now, just some observations. So I don't know if it's designed to be like this, or I don't know, but so if I hold these, I'm trying to get these so that I'm trying the best way to if I put this flat on my hand, this side is actually raised a good 2, maybe 3 millimeters above this side. You can see on the opposite side that it's raised as well. If I bring it up, that's holding the jaws in line. The jaws in line with the camera, and you'll be able to see that this one is higher than this one. Now when you close it, they close and they perfectly align, so I'm guessing that it must be something to do with the mechanics of making sure that these work, or maybe it's the mechanics of moving this over so that it makes it easier to be able to cut. I'm not sure why, and I'd love to hear from SOG if you are watching this, if that is if it's designed to be like that. And in fact, if anybody has one of these snippets, I'd love to hear in the comments below if you found that there is this. In fact, that's probably a better angle to show it. So this one is clearly a good 3 or 4 millimeters to the left of this one. But yeah, I'd love to see. I'd love to hear if you found that you have the same. Actually, when you do that, so this one here is fastened to the left hand side. This one is fastened here to the right hand side. However, with this overlap, these two are now perfectly in line with the shear head. So I'm guessing it must be done. It must have been done on purpose, because as again, you know, if it hadn't have been, they wouldn't have closed perfectly together. But yeah, you know, I'd love to hear if anybody else, have you found the same, that you get that little bit of crossover. Now, I think the snippet is a great tool, and it is because of these scissors. I've probably said this a lot today, but there's just something about pliers. I mean, I use them from time to time, but I tend to find on a daily basis a tool that I would tend to go to more so than pliers. And I suppose it depends, it changes for everybody, doesn't it? Everybody uses a tool slightly different. Some people might never even use the scissors on here, but would use the knife on here 20 times a day. But for me, for my line of work, for just by accident, generally the things that I tend to do more is it tends to be cutting. And to have a small, and they really are small, when these are away they fit perfectly into your pocket, you don't even notice that they're there. In comparison, we're looking at things like the Leatherman Micro, we're also looking at things like the Leatherman Squirt. You know, that kind of size fits in your pocket, and when you need them you can just pull them out. Now, one thing that I didn't mention, being a man, you know, or you know, science has changed recently in the last few years. It's perfectly acceptable for women to grow beards and have a penis. Scissors, when you have facial fur, it's brilliant. When you get those long hairs that overnight just sprout out of your nose or along the back of your ear, to be able to have a small tool that you can get those bizarre little errant hairs. Hey, you know, this is real life. We're talking about real life use. Being able to whip out your scissors to get those weird little hairs and that sort of thing is an extra benefit of having these. Full disclosure, I purchased these weren't sent to me, so all of the opinions that were given today were definitely 100% mine, as they are in all of my other pieces of content, to be fair. I'll leave some links in the description below. They may be affiliate links, so if you do choose to use those, that would be amazing. I get a small kickback towards my channel at no extra cost to you, and it helps me to continue to make content like this. I'll also leave some of my social media links below as well, so that you can see those as well. Follow me on Instagram at _EDC. That would be amazing. But for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Oh, did it again. It's definitely the cold weather. Cold weather, no click. Bit of spit, good click. Alright. Shoot. Hi, I'm the Moorlander. I did the weed breathe in thing again. Hi, I'm the Moorlander, and this is Moorlander EDC. I hope you're all well. Now, today's piece of content is it's a nice difference for me, because okay, let's get straight into it. What we're here today to look at is the survey. What are they called? Study, you wazzock. Studies and observation group, Surge, idiot. Studies and observation group.